It would probably look more like a star to them.
Well, it just looks like a big apple or a pear.
Silver, quite big. It looks like a big cucumber or a peanut.
To many children of the Great War, they were known as the giant silver cigars hanging in the sky. The Zeppelins. Today, children from the 6th Cleethorpes Scout Group recreate that sense of looking up in wonder.
But then it's like a big fat cucumber or squash.
It looks a bit like a flying submarine or a silver bullet.
It looked like something shiny in the sky, like a star. You'd be letting go of everything and running to the nearest shelter, and you'd be quite scared.
And one Zeppelin created a night of horror for Cleethorpes. Engine trouble forced the commander to abandon his London target and head up the coast towards Spurn. Then, in the early hours of April the 1st, 1916, this silent terror dropped 6 bombs on Cleethorpes, killing 31 soldiers billeted in the Baptist Church on Alexandra Road.
We are outside the extension to the Baptist Church, just walking towards the actual church that was built in 1910. To the right of it is the reconstructed Manchester Chapel.
Anne Reavey from the Friends of Cleethorpes Heritage Group.
Follow me through here. This is the actual Manchester Chapel where, unfortunately, 31 soldiers of the Manchester Regiment were killed. King's Church has now really made a wonderful space of this room, and of course it's still commemorated on behalf of the men that were lost on that terrible night. The pilot of the Zeppelin thought he had bombed Grimsby Dock, which was what he reported back, but no, it was the Baptist Church and the Council House and Yarra Road. Quite extensive damage, but the main people were the 31 soldiers killed. There is a memorial to them in the Cleethorpes Cemetery, as many of them were buried here for their relatives to say the last goodbyes.
The events of that night in 1916 had a huge impact on the community, of which there are still signs today.
Coming out of the Baptist Church, walking down Alexandra Road, it's a matter of half a dozen shops before we get to Yarra Road. So the sound of the Zeppelin bomb must have been extreme. Everything must have shaken. People must have been terrified. And because of this, Mr. Forrester, the chemist, who had a shop on the next block, decided he would build an air raid shelter. A bit different to everyone else because this was above ground rather than below. But in it, he not only welcomed his family, but also anyone else that was in need of cover.
On Yarra Road, Anne Reavey is meeting young people from the 6th Cleethorpes Scout Group.
Follow me, children. We'll go round. Your imagination will run wild.
To tell them the story behind this incredible piece of evidence of life during the First World War, tucked down a small alleyway off this quiet street.
At the moment, this is used as a garage, but this was an air raid shelter. This was to keep you safe from the bombs. Can you hear the voice? We're very enclosed. All this back wall was 2 feet deep.
Did they have beds?
Yeah, sometimes, because you had to stay in a long time.
Yeah, because bombs could go off at any second.
Can you imagine what it would be like? Extremely dark. Only candlelight, possibly gas lights. And it was cold. And the children would have to bring in perhaps one toy, perhaps a book if they were able to see.
As Anne tells the story of the air raid shelter, the children imagined spending a night in here during a Zeppelin raid.
Petrified.
Inside would feel safe, but on the outside not that safe because bombs were dropping.
Quite scared and nervous when you come out to see if your house has been bombed down and gone.
Thinking how long the war must be on for, to spend quite a lot of nights in here, it might be a bit uncomfortable and dark and just being a bit worried about, is your house going to get bombed, is your friends going to get bombed, is the whole town going to get bombed, and I'd be a bit worried.
I just took it for granted when I bought the place. I just sort of used it anyhow down, to be real honest. I just classed it as somewhere to put stuff out of the way. I didn't even know it was listed until the council come round and chafed about something about it.
The shelter, today a garage owned by local man George Reavey, is not only a nationally listed building, but has its place in history as the earliest civilian air raid shelter built in Britain and is the oldest surviving First World War shelter left in the UK.
From that ceiling up, as high as it goes, is all solid concrete and granite. I mean, look how high it is up there. From just that bar there, there's a good 8 feet and 9 feet there of solid concrete and granite.
It was really exciting because it's like a part of history that no one actually, like kids that in like the modern days don't actually pay attention to anymore.
It looked really good, but it didn't look comfy. It would be all FOCH. You don't have no Wii's, no Xboxes, no PlayStations.
A little bit amazed by what the shelter looked like and what was the shelter, when she described about the shelter, what it actually was like.
Meeting young people and passing on the story behind the air raid shelter and the Baptist Church to a new generation is key to Anne Reavey and the Friends of Cleethorpes Heritage.
This will carry on in our story of our heritage forever because it's so poignant. A terrible situation, the things that happened to Cleethorpes in the First World War, that the church is still standing, is being refurbished. The children are so interested, and if you can start to teach the children the heritage of where they live, they take an enormous pride in their town and they'll grow up with that pride, and I think that's extremely important.